let's be honest, moving to a new place can feel weird. Everything is different, the streets, the faces, the vibe. It's like being in someone else's life for a while, and no matter how much you unpack and decorate, it still doesn't feel like home. I know this feeling all too well. I've lived in multiple cities and towns across 3 different continents. Every time I moved, the cycle repeated itself. New streets, new habits, new people, and each time I thought, this doesn't feel like home yet. At first, I believed that settling in was all about arranging my furniture, putting some personal stuff, getting the right decor, maybe even finding a good bakery. But the reality, home is not something you find inside. It's something you create outside. So, why we feel disconnected in a new place? Let's talk about that first. You know, our brains crave familiarity. That's why when we move somewhere new, it feels like unsettling. We haven't built those mental maps that make a place feel like ours. In neuroscience, there is a concept called cognitive mapping. It's how our brains create a mental blueprint of the spaces we interact with. When you live somewhere for years, your brain builds a rich map filled with landmarks, memories, and familiar routes. But when you move, that map gets wiped clean. Without that mental map, a new place feels overwhelming. Your brain is working hard to process unfamiliar streets, new sounds, different layouts. That's why everything feels so foreign at first. But here is the good news. You don't wait for that map to rebuild itself. You create it. Yes, you create it. Now let's talk about how you create this map without realizing it. What I did, when I moved to a new city, I felt disconnected. But instead of sticking to the usual grocery store route, I decided to do something different. I wandered, no agenda, no pressure, just exploring with curiosity. And suddenly, I started noticing things. A house with a bright blue door, a tree with a funny shape, a bakery I never knew existed. Never. The more I walked, the more I recognized. And over time, these small observations turned into something powerful. A mental map of my new neighborhood. It wasn't just some street anymore. It was my street. That blue color, a familiar landmark. That bakery, a place I could grab coffee. That's when I realized feeling at home is not about the walls inside. It's about knowing what's outside. And now, how to make a new place feel like home? Let me tell you the 3-step method. Step 1, walk the same route for a week. Your brain loves repetition. When you see the same street, the same houses, the same intersections every day, your brain starts recognizing patterns. And recognition, that is what makes a place feel familiar. Step 2, find your spots. A cafe, a bench, a park, a tree, somewhere you feel drawn to. Having a go-to spot creates a sense of routine, and routine builds attachment. Step 3, greet one person a day. Humans are wired for connection. Even a nod or a small hello, a small smile sends signals to your brain that says, I belong here. And over time, these micro interactions turn into faces you recognize. And suddenly, you are part of this neighborhood. It is your neighborhood. Now let's talk a little science. Psychologists call this process place attachment, the emotional bond between people and places. As the research shows that interaction and repetition are the fastest way to develop a sense of belonging. There is another concept also called territoriality. It's our natural instinct to mark spaces as ours. Think about your favorite cafe shop, your usual bench in the park, the path you always take. These places are not just locations anymore. They are extensions of you. The moment you establish your spots in a neighborhood, your brain starts registering that space as safe and familiar. And that's when a place starts feeling like home. It will be your home. Now, here is my challenge for you. If you're in a new neighborhood or even just want to feel more connected to where you live, try this today. Take a 10-minute walk around your area and notice something new. Maybe it's a mural you never saw before, a hidden alley, or a tree with an interesting shape. Then come back to this video and tell me in the comments, what's one new thing you noticed today that made your neighborhood feel like more familiar? No more feeling like an outsider. Really, commit to that today. Yalla, go outside.